Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Everyday Riches Show. I am Pat Knauer. I am one of the hosts here. I'm a business coach with Corner Office University, and I am so delighted to be here today. And Barbara.
Well, hi there, everybody. I'm Barbara Lunan Ellison. I'm a personality science speaker, and I work with entrepreneurs to just help them get their messaging and all of the things that are fun. And we are into just enjoying our businesses and being financially, and so that's why we are so excited to have Rick come on, and Pat's going to introduce Rick. And so welcome.
Yeah, so thrilled to have you here today, Rick.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Appreciate the invitation.
Absolutely. So for those of you who don't know Rick, and I can't believe that some of us had not known Rick, because, I mean, if you don't know Rick, you need to know Rick. Rick Davis is a retired battalion chief from the Loveland Fire Department, Fire and Rescue Authority in Colorado. He's the author of Furnace of Leadership Development, which I am so interested in hearing more about. He served as a firefighter for 37 years. You're one of the good guys on the front lines. Thank you so much for your service. And with them for over and with LFRA, which was the furnace. Okay, I can't say it. Loveland Fire Rescue Authority. He was with them for 20 years. Anyway, so during his time with them, Rick led the Special Operations Team, the Hazardous Materials Team, Wildland Firefighting Program, the recruiting program, Health and Safety Program, and served as the department's training chief. Whoa. Rick is a veteran of both the U.S. Air Force and United States Marine Corps. Now, I'm anxious to hear how you were able to maneuver both of those, and you're still alive at this age. I mean, it seems like with all this experience, okay, I'm going to just say it. With all this experience, when I read this, I thought, how old is he? Like, 150 years old? Over the course of his career, Rick has spoken about decision-making and taught leadership to the fire service industry, to church groups. He wrote 2 research papers on situational awareness and tactical decision-making and under stress, holds a BS in business administration from Kennedy Western University, an MS in Executive Fire Service Leadership from Grand Canyon University, is a graduate of the National Firefighters Academy Executive Fire Officer Program. Originally from Cedarville, New Jersey, now he lives in Loveland, Colorado with his wife, 2 daughters, and their dog, Java. Oh my gosh, Rick, I am so excited to have you here. There's so much to talk about.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here this morning with you.
Okay, so tell me first of all, tell me how you've been able to accomplish all this and not be 150 years old.
I started at a very young age. I had my first ride on a fire engine when I was 3 years old in a Memorial Day parade. My Aunt Phyllis was my dad's sister. She lived next door to us, and she worked at an international farm all place down the street. And one of the gentlemen that worked with her was a volunteer firefighter there in Cedarville. And he would, send equipment catalogs, things home. He'd make arrangements for me to come down to the firehouse. My dad would take me down there, when they had drill nights, and he was the one that was instrumental in, getting me to ride that fire engine. And so my dad died in March of 1972. I came home from school and found him on the floor. He had died of his 5th heart attack. And, I'd had the interest in the fire service. And so neighboring fire department, they're the ones that provided the EMS and the ambulance. They came and, very crude back, at that time in our area. And that's what I valued. I'm going to do this for a living. And so shortly after that, a few months later, I started hanging out down at the firehouse down there. When we had a fire siren, when that thing would go off, I'd get up in the middle of the night and just go down there. And it's just earned their trust. So when I turned 18, I did 2 things. I enlisted in the Air Force, and I put in my application for the volunteer fire department. And so, that's how I got my start, in all of these things. And I might be a little bit older, than what I look like. I'm fortunate, I'm very blessed. I will say that I'm very thankful to God I am the oldest living Davis in our family, because
Wow.
most of our family is dead by now, either from heart attack or war. And so I'm very blessed, and so that's how, Pat, I've been able to do so much, at this in the military. The military, you are able to accomplish things at a very young age that my peers or anybody's peers out on the street, they frankly aren't doing. They frankly aren't doing that. When I did make it into the fire service in the Air Force as a firefighter, and I was riding over in the right seat in the military, at least at that time, we were referred to as crew chiefs. In the civilian world, as a company officer, I was stationed down at Lowry Air Force Base in Denver when it was open, and we would respond to calls. And sometimes Denver Fire Department would be on the other side of the fence, or the Aurora Fire Department, and I would look at that company officer, and I would say, "Wow, there is such a vast age difference between me and that person." And it's like, I wouldn't have had that same opportunity at the age I was at the time if I hadn't been in the military. And so that contributed quite a bit to being able to accomplish so much.
So if you're watching this or listening to this, and you're not, and either on replay or live, make a comment, number one, and thank somebody who's in the military, number two. And if you're in the age group to go into the military, consider going into the military. It makes such good sense to do it, right?
Yes. Yeah, it does. And I've talked to so many people over the years about the military. Even though I got out of the Marine Corps in 1987, I talked to them about it. My daughter, she's getting married this coming Sunday afternoon, and the gentleman she's marrying has got 16 years in the Air Force, and he's on his last 4 years. And so there's plenty. It's a rough life. It could be a rough life, especially depending on which branch of the military you are in. I went from the Air Force to the Marine Corps. That's night and day. And
how did you? That was my question. How did you do that?
Yeah, well, Barbara, a lot of people say, hey, Davis. Normally it's the other way around. People go from the Marine Corps and to the Air Force, not the Air Force to the Marine Corps. Well, to try to make it as succinct as possible, because it can be a very long story. When I initially went in the Air Force, I was not in the fire department. I wanted to be. But I allowed the recruiter to influence me of, hey, you just go in, and when you get to boot camp, you could get your job changed. And so it's like, oh, okay, sure. I wanted to be a firefighter so bad, and in the military, yeah, I'll do it, And I got down there to boot camp, and they get that portion where you got to pick a job. And I still remember that tech sergeant when I said, hey, my recruiter told me that you could get me in the fire department. And he frankly said, son, you've been screwed. Pick a job. Yeah. Yeah. And those were his exact words, And so I picked the job. I wound up working on F-4E fighters. I was stationed at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base in North Carolina. And I detail this in my book. There's some things that I did that I'm not proud of, I was a rabble rouser, and I took the Air Force on, and I got in the fire department. Okay. And I got officially cross-trained, and so that's how I wound up from North Carolina here to Colorado, with the Air Force. Well, one day our deputy chief came to me and he says, hey, Davis, you got orders sending you back to your old career field. And well, fortunately I had a contract extending my enlistment, and we went to personnel, and they said, well, okay, this covers you now, but if you re-enlist, you're going back to your old career field because there's a shortage. I said, no, I'm not. This is what I want to do. So I left the Air Force as an active duty, and I went to work for them as a civilian firefighter, and went from Colorado to Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota, which I had never been up there before.
Why
so
not?
Why not Minot? Yeah, exactly. And I was able to transfer back down here to Colorado, and I left the fire department to go to college, ran out of money, tried to get back in the Air Force, and they said, we can't let you in. There's too many firefighters. So that's how, Barbara, I wound up in the Marine Corps. I went and I talked to the Marine recruiter, and he says, well, I don't have any openings, a crash crew right now. And I said, well, okay, I want to get back into firefighting. A couple months went by. I thought, hey, wait a minute, there's a reserve unit out at Buckley Air Force Base, Marine Corps Reserve Unit. So I called the recruiter and I told him what I wanted to do. He says, great. He says, we have openings for, members in crash crew, which is firefighting. He says, meet me Saturday morning, 0900 Denny, 6 and Kipling, be there, click. Hung up the phone.
Yeah.
So, okay, all right, I can operate in a blunt world. And so that's why I showed up. I walked in, he was in civilian clothes, but you knew who the Marine was. And we went right over to his office and we sat down and we started taking care of the paperwork. And voila, in 2 months, I was in the Marine Corps Reserve. Much to my surprise, I found out that the fire truck that had used to been out there for the Marine Corps was taken away. So I wound up working back out on the flight line again. And but I enjoyed it so much that I applied to go on active duty. And I entered the Marine Corps through a program called Prior Service, Other Service. So I was an NCO, non-commissioned officer. At the time, I was holding the rank of corporal. E4, and as a firefighter there were vacancies, and so that's how I came into the Marine Corps. Wound up down in Yuma, Arizona. And it couldn't have been 3 to 4 months after that, the career planner came to me, said, okay, Davis, we got too many NCOs and crash crew, pick a job. Then I was back at square one again, and I picked it's a thing called the dream sheet in the military. It's called a dream sheet for a reason, because you're dreaming if you think that you're going to get anything that you put down in that sheet. Then so I put down 3 jobs.
But doesn't it show you your tenacity though? And I think that's where your leadership came in. Is that you stuck with it, and isn't that all about what our businesses are about? Is just stick with it when you're faced with issues of, oh yeah, this isn't working,
Right. Yeah, you just do it and you adapt. I wound up in a career field called aviation operations, which I was still trying to mentally deal with what's going on here. But I soon realized within maybe a year, when I say soon, is that what I learned in that career field greatly prepared me later in life. 2 skills, typing and computers, and how to work computers. And when at first was like, typing, are you kidding me? And when I graduated from the school, because of my rank, I had to be able to type 50 words a minute on an IBM Selectric. Wow. And so, when I sat down, I don't know how many times I said, thank you, Lord, for that Marine Corps teaching me how to teach when I was writing my book, and other administrative skills that I had learned in that career field, aviation operations. Because coming back to your original question, Pat, about how in the world did I get to do so many of these things, those administrative skills and abilities that I learned in the Marine Corps played out greatly in my career as I came here to Loveland, got married to my wife, Debbie, got back into the fire service. And through that nearly 30 years here in Loveland, those administrative skills played out greatly with those projects, being able to manage those different projects that you read off from my bio when we started.
That's amazing. You bring up a really good point, because a lot of times people think the basic skills are things that you really shouldn't have to nurture, that just, if you can type, you can just type, even if you finger peck. Well, no, it doesn't work that way. Or, building a spreadsheet, or learning to use, a Microsoft Office package, or their basic skills. But if you don't have those basic skills, it kind of cuts you off at the knees for everything else. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I would say that. And, in our fire department here, I can't speak for every fire department, obviously, but in our department, everybody carried a project to one degree or another. And the higher up you moved in rank, the greater responsibility you had in a project. And Pat, you talked about the hunt and peck. And that's issues that I dealt with, once I became a battalion chief, and even before that, running the hazardous materials team, issues that I ran into when somebody needed to type a policy, or they needed to type a chapter for a training manual, and now they're locking up and they're freezing. They've got the head knowledge, they've got the technical skill and ability to perform, but now transferring that from here into the computer and they're doing this,
Right.
create a lot of stress and consternation for them. And so for anybody who's listening to your program, who's desiring to move up into a company, an organization, certainly, fire, police, that type of thing. If you don't know how to type, go out and learn how to type, learn some of these skills, because they're greatly going to assist you further on in your career, and the lack of them becomes a hindrance.
Yes.
Right.
And, even for business owners, it's the same thing.
Right.
I mean, everybody thinks that a firefighter just goes out, hangs around the firehouse all day because, you see on television, they're
Yeah.
working all day until a fire hits, right?
Yeah.
It's not that way at all. And so when you think about that transferring into business, and I mean, firefighters make great business owners. They really do. You're right. They have the projects behind them. I mean, I've met so many firefighters who've created painting businesses because they're used to being on ladders, right? It makes perfect sense. But they also get the business skills that are involved because they are doing these projects. So, when we talk to business owners and they don't have these basic skills, and even if they have some basic skills, you're constantly learning, right? And even as a firefighter, you were constantly learning something and gaining new skills along the way. So when you retired, you had a whole skill set to be able to pull from.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right on target. I had the skill set to be able to pull from, and back, I think it was approximately the mid 90s, I was a member of the hazardous materials team, and the individual that was in charge of it at the time, the captain, said, "Hey, I'm going to be retiring, and who's interested in taking over?" Yeah, I will. And it took a few years to make the transition, but then now you're picking up a program that has a lot of administrative responsibilities that come along with it, and a budget. And a lot of people, before you talk about something they're going to lock up on, it's a budget, and then preparing what you need down the road, projecting what you're going to have, and the maintenance costs associated with the equipment that you have, and the training costs, and hey, the attrition, somebody's leaving the team, or they are all of a sudden, because we're level A fully encapsulated suit, and I'd had a couple people during the time I was a team member, I can't do this anymore. I don't like somebody zipping me up and I can't get out. And so you're right. Those things transfer over, to post firefighting career.
Yeah, because essentially you're running a business within the fire department.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I want to jump back to the comment that you made is, the TV image of the firefighter. Right. They show them, the movie Backdraft, Kurt Russell,
Right.
coming out of the burning building there in Chicago with his coat open and all that, And hey, there's a reason why there's cop shows on live cop shows on TV, and there's not a lot of live fire shows on TV. It's because when you're going into something that's burning, you can't see. So there's reality, and then there's the TV that paints it, and it paints the image sometimes that, hey, all we do is we come around, we show up at roll call, check the trucks, and then pour a cup of coffee and sit in the lounge luge all day long, which is the farthest thing from the truth.
Yeah. Totally. So because you had this strong foundation in the fire department and in the military, you were really poised as a leader because you did manage projects and you were essentially running a company. So tell me tell us how you eventually evolved into training for leadership.
That started a long time ago, and that's part of my book, where it starts when I was in high school, because that's where I started, learning leadership. What the contents inside my book are a lifelong journey. And you're right. As a battalion chief, I did function as the department's training chief for 15 months. But those other times, the 15 years that I was a battalion chief, other than that 15-month period, I was a shift commander. So I had approximately 30 people, assigned to my shift in various fire stations. And I'm, leading them, managing them, overseeing what they are doing. And,
Right.
so that naturally is transferable. Right now, my business it's me, and so I just got to run myself, But coming back to your question is, I read a lot. I've been reading military history ever since I was a little kid. And you might get a little clue of my, reading habits from what's behind me, here on the
And
screen.
leaders are leaders.
Yes. And so I watched a lot. And I've seen a lot of bad examples in the Air Force and the Marine Corps and the fire department.
Right.
I've seen a lot of good examples in the Air Force, the Marine Corps, and the fire department. I've sat back and I've been in businesses and I've watched how the owner or a manager or supervisor treats people. I've gone into places and you say, hey, wow, they got it together here. Well, why do they have it together? It's because of the leadership. And so just picking these things up along the way, a lot of it came, on my own because I had a thirst and a desire. Certainly in the military, you're getting leadership training. But once I separated from the military, I was on my own to be able to, grow and develop myself. Fortunately, along the way, once I got into the fire department, I was able to attend a fire officers course that was hosted by the Denver and Aurora fire departments. And that was a year-long program. I really enjoyed that. And then back in 2009, I was able to attend the Executive Fire Officer Program through the National Fire Academy in Emmitsburg, Maryland. That was a 4-year program where you went back for 2 weeks. You were there on campus, beautiful area. And then you had a 6-month applied research project that had to be related to that class and a problem in your community or your department. And so through gathering all these things up was really continually, developing that leadership foundation. And it continues today. After I left the fire department in May of this year, I did that on a Sunday morning. And Saturday morning, that following Saturday morning, I joined the John Maxwell Team, which provide even more leadership training and access. So it's just a continual developing process. And so that's how I've been fed from a leadership perspective over the years and grown.
That's fantastic.
And for myself, think I think that's one of the most important things that we like to hear from our guests and from each other is that continuous learning. It's when you stop learning, that's when things go down the tubes. You know, and the more that we learn, and I think for myself, it's when I invest in myself and invest in my own learning. That's when we can impact other people around us. So
yes, I agree, Barbara. That's very, very true factual statement is investing in ourselves. And I've seen far too many people over the years that, they invest in other things, and they spend a lot of time in other areas that are more pleasure, than it is developing. And so who are they impacting? Who are we impacting in life? And when you talk about retirement, well, a long time ago, my wife and I, we've been married for 33 years, and we were in our first couple of months of marriage, and we were looking at one older couple in our church in particular, and the man had fought during World War II, and we watched them for a long time, and we said, they are young. They are young because their minds are engaged and because of the people that they are investing in and spending with. I've seen far too many people over the years as they age, they just stick themselves in that group. And I would sometimes show up at McDonald's in the morning to pick up breakfast, and I'd see the McDonald's morning crowd over in the corner, and you listen to them, and they were all retired and they're belly aching. They're belly aching about everything. That's like, I always say, hey, why don't you guys get off your rear end and go out there and start impacting people's lives, because you've got skills and experience and knowledge that can be transferred to other people.
Absolutely.
So from that word retirement, for me, I determined a long time ago, it was only a trigger word. a trigger word to indicate that I was officially leaving the fire department, not life. And there's too many people, especially men, that leave life. And hey, you guys that are out there, if there's any of you that your identity is wrapped up in your job, you better start evaluating that, because you're going to crash and burn once you leave your job. And I have seen that happen with firefighters and police officers and people and guys leaving the military. We become so wrapped up in our identity. Yeah, I got my old helmet over here behind me, but that's not my identity. For me, for Rick Davis, my identity is in Christ. It is not in the badge. It's not in the patch. It's not in the fire trucks. It was not in my title. But I had to come to grips with that. And I didn't come to grips with that until I entered that EFO program, the Executive Fire Officer program. And I read a book called Leadership on the Line. It was required reading for the class, written by two gentlemen named Heifetz and Linsky. And about 3/4 of the way through the book, they described working with a man that had graduated from college, went to work in a Fortune 500 company in the mailroom, 35 years later, retired as the CEO. Had a big retirement party for this fella Friday afternoon. Monday morning, he came back to work to clean out his desk. People won't even acknowledge him. Some people were calling him by his first name when, Friday afternoon it was, Mr. Schmuckatelli, and he took a tank dive, and they had to work with him. And I thought, and they were talking about the identity. And I thought, whoa, hold on. And I ran upstairs to my closet, because firefighters are notorious for trading T-shirts, collecting everybody else's T-shirts. I went up to my closet and I counted. I said, this is nuts. I could go well over a month and not have to do the laundry. I've got so many fire department T-shirts. I'm not going to be that guy. And that's when it hit me. It was in 2009. Is Davis, you better make sure you know who your identity is grounded in, and not in the fire department, because you're going to wind up being one of those people.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Good thought.
And it happens way too often, not just in the fire department, but also in life. How many marriages break up in business because the business owner is so wrapped up in their job and in their identity of being a business owner, right? And how many people end up committing suicide over business losses and things like that, because everything's just wrapped up in that. There isn't a balance, and it's so good to see you got that balance. You created the balance, and you get that you are not your job. You are a person who is doing the job, and you are a person who is leading leaders, and yet that's not your identity. Your identity is Rick Davis, the strong, great guy who's out there making a difference in the world. It's a good thing.
Well, that's something that's common, certainly for the three of us.
Yeah.
We're here gathered together this morning, and it's because we want to have a positive impact in the lives of other people. The three of us have learned things throughout life. We've gained experience, education, knowledge, and the three of us are going to reach totally different groups of people. But that commonality is we want to go through life and impact other people. And that was what really drove me, in writing the book as well. Is like, hey, I'd show up in the fire stations and have the conversations, with the crews. And my wife had been encouraging me to write the book for a long time, my daughters, and then some of the guys say, hey, Chief, you ought to write a book, and then, well, it happened, and, so a lot of the drive behind that is I want to be able to share the experiences, what I have learned over the years from a leadership perspective with people that I'll never, ever get to meet.
Right. So if you could give the listeners 3 leadership tips, what would they be?
Pay attention to your people and spend time with them. That's the biggie. And I know that there's people who are going to watch this will say, well, Rick, you don't understand. You don't know my job. You don't know I don't have the time. Well, compare that with Winston Churchill, Napoleon, George Patton. All 3 of them, spent time with the troops. Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister of England during World War II, spent time not only with the troops, but he spent time in the factories. He spent time with the people. So when I hear leaders say, I don't have the time to spend with the people. Well, you need to reevaluate that. So that's the biggie, right there. Number two is don't be a politician. Be authentic. Be authentic with people. I have been around, throughout my lifetime, those people who are the politicians, they're the flag wavers, and they change depending on, in their mind, who's more important at the time. Be authentic and be genuine and treat people like that. And the third one, and really these are in a descending order, the third one is develop yourself as a leader. Don't wait for other people to do it. Don't wait for the boss to come to you and say, we're going to send you a leadership course. Don't wait for the company to do it. Don't wait for, if you're like in the fire department, don't wait for some state program to be released to do it. Go out, take the initiative and have the drive to develop yourself.
So totally true. Bravo.
So true.
I love what you have to say. Yeah. Yeah. I did a mastermind group several years ago with CEOs, and I would get CEOs in a room, first of all, to bring them into the mastermind. And we'd have this event where they would come and they'd have breakfast and we'd do a presentation. And it wasn't about the mastermind. It was actually about leadership and about growing as a leader in your field. And it was so hard to get in a room of 20 to 30 executives, CEOs of companies, to get them to commit to actually taking a step to learn more about leadership. It totally blew my mind. And it was a very frustrating time, as you can well imagine. Because what I found so often is that CEOs or leaders will get to a point in their career and they say, well, I've already made it, so now I don't need to do anything more. And they stop learning.
Yeah. I had a question posed to me back in 2015 by a gentleman named Paul Callan. And I got to know Paul at the end of 2013. And he's a retired Marine colonel. He was gracious enough to write the foreword for my book. And we were having a phone conversation. And he said, so Rick, he says, why do you believe what you do about leadership? Wow, that stopped me. Said, I know what I want to see in a leader, and I know what I want from myself as a leader. Well, what that did is that drove me to head over to Barnes & Noble and pick up a moleskin journal. And I just wrote on the front of it, Leadership Journal. And I just started digging into my memory and writing down experiences that I've had and observations that I've had over the years. And it really helped put me on there. Okay, this is why I believe this. And I think that's important for leaders to do. Is think, so we know what a leader we want to see in a leader, but why do we actually believe that?
That's fantastic. In fact, I'm writing it down.
That's a great thought.
In fact, I'm actually going to do that exercise myself, and I appreciate that because
you're welcome.
It's important that everybody does that, no matter what role you're in. Why do you believe that you're the absolute best at doing what you're doing? And what is it about your skill set or about your knowledge or talents or abilities that makes you so great at what you do? And it's really important to be able to speak that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And genuine at the same time.
Absolutely. So what's next for you?
I'm continuing to build the business. I've been networking like crazy, ever since probably July, I'd say. And so I have connected with people, because of, COVID. I believe one of the advantages that has come out of it this year, even though a lot of people are running around burying their head in the sand, doom and gloom, I can't wait till 2021 comes. There's been a lot of blessings this year, a lot of blessings. And so what's next for me is I'm going to continue to, refine my message. I have content that I have built over the years. There's more content that I want to build. Plus I have access, to the John Maxwell material that I can mold it in together. I've got a few ideas that are banging around my head, that I'd like to put together, but I'm plugging away here, getting the word out that, that what I do, from the leadership aspect, that, doing the consulting and the training, coaching, And some people said, "Hey, when you're writing your next book?" It's like, whoa, let's put the brakes on that one right there, because I know how much time goes into that.
Right.
So
Right.
I got that first book done, and I want to build the business and get a solid base going before I would even consider, sitting down writing another book.
It's fantastic.
Mhm.
And what are you most excited about?
I'm excited about the future. And my wife is too. My wife, Debbie, I mentioned earlier, we've been married 33 years, and she's a fantastic support. She's just a tremendous blessing from God. I mentioned my oldest daughter's getting married, this coming Sunday. I'm excited about that. She married a great guy. My youngest daughter's getting married next May. Yeah, so there's just been a lot of changes. So I'm excited about these different doors that are opening up, and who I am able to impact. I've just seen that just spread wide. Even through the Maxwell team, networking worldwide, connecting with people worldwide. It's just absolutely amazing. So that excites me. It excites me about the opportunities that I've already had some that I believe that had we not gone virtual like this, I may not have had them. I may not have had an opportunity to do a presentation to a fire department down in Texas. I may not have had an opportunity to do a presentation to a group in San Diego. So those things excite me, Pat.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So I understand you have a gift for our listeners today.
Yes, if they go to my website, www.impactusleadership.com, and go under the services tab, they can click that. They can send me an email, and I am offering a 30-minute consultation with them. We can do it over the telephone, or we can do it via Zoom. We'll leave that up to your listeners and their preference. And if they're local here in Colorado, once we get past the lockdowns, I'd be more than happy to meet with people face to face as well.
Are you still really locked down in Colorado?
Yes.
Yes.
In this
different
county.
Places, different rules. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Yeah. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. That could be a 10-hour conversation in and of itself, right?
It certainly could. And if anybody wants to engage in that conversation, let's get a conversation going. In fact, we could even do, I don't know, Barbara, if you'd be up for this at all, because I mean, this is, we're talking about everyday riches and things that enrich your life, whether it's money or whether it's lifestyle, health, whatever. So if you'd be interested in having a conversation about where COVID is and what COVID's doing and the options that are available. My background's as a nurse, so I'm tied into the medical community pretty tightly, and I would love to have that conversation with anybody who would like to have it, because there's so much to say about it.
That's
and
great.
How everybody is handling it.
Yes,
some people, how everybody is handling it, and everybody's handling it differently. And have different thoughts of it. And some are like so adamant on both ends. It's like, whoa.
There's 6 million businesses in the world, and every business is run completely different. Well, the same thing with COVID. I mean, everybody's running COVID completely different. So it's interesting. It's very interesting time we're living in.
Yeah.
Very interesting time.
But at the same time, I just like to throw a word of encouragement out there to everybody who it's the woe is me. I like to say, hey, number one, look at the facts. Look at the statistics of how many people do survive. We just want to just grab onto the negative. And I'm not downplaying the people, that have died from that. I mean, I'm not, but let's look at the positive aspects of this as what has come out of it, and not constantly be the doom and the gloom. Because, folks, at the end of the month, midnight on December 31st, it's going to turn January 1st, 2021. It's still here.
It is.
Yeah.
And be here for a good long time. 2021 is not going to look very different from 2020. It's
Yeah.
just the way it is. Yeah.
And one of my thoughts, because I don't want to keep you guys, but one of my thoughts was that so many people are doing things that they would never, ever possibly have thought that they would do because of what's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It has broadened people's horizons. They have had to pivot. They have opened up opportunities that would never, ever, ever have been possible. But because of it.
Yeah.
So I'm with you guys. I'm counting my blessings.
Yeah, it's a real blessing in disguise.
That has been a blessing in disguise. A blessing in disguise.
Yes.
So anyways. Rick, this was amazing.
It really was. And listeners out there, if you're listening to this and you need any help with your business or your leadership or personalities or, dealing with employees or dealing with family or colleagues or whatever, get in touch with one of us. Any of us can help you to do different things. And we're all tied in together. So we'd be glad to help you with whatever your needs are, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Exactly. Because my favorite saying is we can't do life on our own. We have to deal with it. We have to deal with the people around us. So let's learn how to do it a little bit more effectively.
Yeah.
Yes, always shapes and forms.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Rick, for being here today.
You're welcome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And mention your book again. What was the name of your book?
The name of my book is The Furnace of Leadership Development. And somebody, if they want an autographed copy, they can get that off of my website. Other than that, it's available in paperback and ebook format through Amazon.
Perfect.
Make a great Christmas gift.
It really would, as a matter of fact. Think about that for the business leaders out there in your families or friends or colleagues. Books make wonderful, wonderful gifts.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today, Rick.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.